Today's video is on Oliver, the human-chimp alleged hybrid, and I guess Oliver was kind of famous in the 70s, and so of course if you've seen my fake animal videos before, and especially my videos on great apes, I believe that all the great ape species are a satanic deception, and that they use fursuits and actors in fursuits. These days they have realistic puppets and animatronics at their disposal, but fursuits are just a big tradition of these hoaxsters on the world stage who fake everything. They also fake animal creatures, and every culture has their own fake animal story, and kind of the joke is that, like, snape hunting, is that what it's called? Snape? The jackalope. But there's animals exactly like that the clown show, the world stage, pretend are real. Like the platypus, it's not a real animal. The panda is a fursuit. Zebras are painted that way. They're not born like that. And this is just another aspect of the great deception that's over the whole earth. And there's a giant club of hoaxsters out there. And anyways, this is a big one. The great ape hoax. They want you to think that humans are just a monkey, and they also, of course, use this to try to prove evolution. Hey, look, they're just like us, so clearly we came from them. But the secret behind the joke is they actually are humans. They're just humans in fursuits. This is, every once in a while they come out and they make an interesting suit. I've noticed that they like to put injuries on the suits. And these are the same people that work in special effects makeup. These suits take a lot of time, a lot of man hours. They're very expensive to produce, and they got to keep them clean for the most part. Have you ever seen the videos of these fake apes running away from the rain? They really don't like to get wet. You'd think, being a rainforest creature, that they wouldn't care, but these suits are hard to maintain, and so really they're for the camera. That's another thing that you'll notice, is that they're really for the camera. They have zillions of perfect studio quality images of these creatures because they were made for the camera. They're made to look good. It's out of Hollywood, these suits. Sticking the tongue out there on the left, and the hand looking like holding a magic wand, but it's the chain around the neck, and sticking out your tongue is a sign that these people do the mocking tongue, kali. The Bible even talks about people who wink with one eye and stick out their tongue. So the Bible references these people, references the hand signs. This was a weird thing with the hands down here. Is Oliver, the missing link, balding on top like a man. So, just a psyop, in my opinion. These days, they've gone over the top with this. You can tell that when these articles were written, they were much more conservative with the fake ape stuff. They were mentioning how, oh, this Oliver one liked to walk on 2 feet, and then they mentioned how gorillas, they can if they're taught to do it, but they normally always walk on 4s. But these days, they have the fursuits walking on 2 legs, like, all the time. They've really changed up the lore on that part. And doesn't this guy on the left with the booty looks like a circus? This looks like the ringmaster at a circus. Man, look at the backside though on that one is hilarious. Yep, so these are just fursuits in my opinion, not real animals. This one very often is wearing shorts or being turned away from the camera and has large cojones, which these days they don't even do that. So I thought that was interesting. I'm not going to zoom in on that, but got some thin, curvy eyebrows and a doughy face and a Hitler mustache on this one. I had to censor this out because YouTube has been taking down my videos if I show these actors partaking in a certain activity that they like to make them do. And this guy's stupid face on the right just looks so stupid. Hey Carl, you have a really stupid looking face. Come make it over at this. That is the Baphomet hand sign. So, I guess I referenced it briefly earlier, how these days, sometimes they do make a wacky suit. So, okay, that's just a wacky suit. Hey, we're going to come out with the story of a hybrid. So, make them balding, and we're going to have them stand up all the time, and make them weird looking. Well, they have weird looking suits like this one too, where they just make the suit a muscle suit. And yeah, this is straight out of Hollywood special effects. This is why people want to get into the special effects. Oh, and to go back to, even in the zoo, you'll see them with gnarly scars on them and stuff. That's the exact type of stuff special effects makeup people like to do. Make gnarly scars and come up with a story for their creation. It was actually really popular on TV for a while. It was in the era of everything had to be a challenge, what do you call it, like a competition. There were many competition shows about special effects makeup, and you see how they give their characters a backstory. If they're making a special effects character, it's a character. They build a backstory, they come up with interesting, well, this one's going to have alopecia. I'm going to make a alopecia fursuit. And muscle suits are things that they make for the Hollywood people. Who's noticed that a lot of the Hollywood leading FTM just wear straight up muscle suits these days? They don't even have to get jacked in the gym most of the time. They will just put on a muscle suit. Arrested Development makes fun of that. We got the beady, close together eyes on this devilish looking creature there on the left, covering the hands. There's still people denying that these people talk with their hands and use signs and symbols to talk. I went to a wedding of a guy who was definitely a Mason, a Masonic family, and I remember being told by the photographer, oh, make sure you cross this hand over this. They were specific about which hand crossed over the other hand, and people are just going to say, oh, it's so that the pictures look uniform or whatever. But no, these people are really obsessed with the hand signs, and they do talk with their hands. This guy's got the razzle-dazzle on the right, and the monkey is holding a magic wand in his left hand. Oliver, the human Z, was born in 1957, allegedly. Human sperm, I don't know what that was talking about, but this art is just out of this world. Evolution Earth, covering the one eye. See how the one eye is hidden in shadow? The one eye symbolism is something they love to do. The human, and this is when I was like, oh man, this is it. This is the end. This is when I knew I had the video done, when I read this title. The Human Z of Orange Park. Why is orange coming out of this? And okay, so it's because it's Florida, I guess, and they grow oranges in Florida. But if you've watched my videos for long enough, you see that I talk about orange all the time because it's one of their biggest signs. 33 is their most obvious number coding. Orange is so obviously, it's them. It's obvious who is behind the scenes when orange makes an appearance. And orange just so happens to equal 33. The Jack's lore, the human Z of Orange Park, unseen and unknown by most in the region from 1930 to 1965, Orange Park was home to one of the largest chimpanzee research operations in the world, the Yerkes Laboratories of Primate Biology. So I'm just going to read some things from this article. I liked the use of the word supposed here. The story of a supposed human Z experiment in the sphere of weird science. I'm just gonna skim and say anything that pops out. I mention this a lot in my videos, where topics that should be very serious, this happens all the time with outer space stuff, topics that should be very serious have very ridiculous things put into them. Although not apparently in hopes of creating an unstoppable army of ape men in service to Stalin, as has been reported. Like, they like to put in moments of that are just totally unbelievable or ridiculous in stories that should be serious. People have claimed that similar things have happened in China, captured imaginations around the world, popularizing the question of whether a human Z is possible. Interest in the question spiked in the 1970s when a chimp named Oliver drew attention due to his unusual appearance and behavior, which observers found uncannily human. Apparently originally from the Congo. Apparently, words like that too are very... Why would you put that in there? Apparently, originally from the Congo, Oliver was bought by handlers. So handler is definitely a buzzword for the types of people that work behind the scenes for the NWO or for this Bafo club. They call people handlers. Frank and Janet Berger, sounds like, is that a small hat last name? Who soon noted his odd traits. A history of hybrids sitting at a pyramid-looking throne, doing the Martin, sticking your hand behind your arm to make it seem like you have muscles. They like to pose like that. University of Albany psychologist Gordon Gallup has a long interest in hybrids, including the supposed. How many times are they going to put alleged, supposed? Courtesy of Gordon Gallup. Okay. Back to this. Seriously, looks straight out of a circus. This guy on the left. When I first saw Oliver, he showed a lot of very peculiar, seemingly human-like characteristics. For instance, he showed a predisposition to walk upright. So many of them do that today. That this is lore that has changed. Just like something that I know that was lore added is sloth lore. Nowadays, they say sloths grow like moss all over them. That didn't used to be a thing. They'll just come up with stuff about their fake animals and just pretend like it's always been like that. And this is one with the fake apes walk on two legs so often today. They've just changed the script on their fake animals. They used to only ever have them go on four legs, except very rarely. And then they'd say, oh, they were trained. They would just give some fake story, I'm sure. Oh, that one was raised by a human family, so that's why it does that. But nowadays, they walk on two legs so often that it's like they've changed the script. He had flat, peculiar-shaped nose and lips, and so on and so forth, and I thought when I first saw that he might, in fact, be a human Z. Oliver inspired fascination for decades. In 1996, you got the 9-9 and the upside-down 9, or, 666 ideas, because the 9s are upside-down 6s. In 1996, geneticists determined to find the truth about Oliver by examining his karyotype, or set of chromosomes. And then they talk about 48, 46, 47. So allegedly, according to chromosome analysis, he was a regular chimp. But, hey, regular chimps are humans. So, obviously these numbers about 46 and 48 are all just made up. I mean... humans may have 46 chromosomes. There's a lot of deception with DNA. Humans are not. This is actually an interesting article that somebody sent me about how, with all the technology they have today and with all of the breaking down people's DNA into A, B, C, or whatever the letters are that they have, they still can't prove that humans are just like an expression of our genetic material. It should be really easy to find out, okay, well, where are the genes that are like blue eyes or green eyes or brown eyes, or how tall you are? Where are the genes for how tall you are? It seems like that's actually impossible, or they haven't cracked that yet, and that it's much more complicated than that. And what makes a person, it's like more the whole, and we're not just like Lego execution of programming, and that genetic material is maybe different, or it might be more complicated, and things like environment comes into play, and spiritual things could come into play. It's not just merely a deterministic based off of whatever your genetic material says. Anyways, genetic stuff is just interesting, because I think it's one of those topics where there's a grain of truth in there to what they're talking about. Like, chromosomes are a real thing that they're observing, but what's really going on behind the scenes is probably more interesting. So, could half human, half ape beings walk the earth with us? Gallup thinks it's possible. Hybridization is fairly common among many types of animals. I say this how you can have a garden in your backyard and see hybrids happen in real time. In my backyard, I see raspberry, blackberry hybrids because we have wild blackberry everywhere here in Oregon, and I grow raspberry in the backyard, and the blackberry is crazy. It tries to take over everything. But I've seen hybrids where it's a raspberry plant growing like blackberry type fruit on it. Very interesting. Biology is very adaptable. What they tell you about evolution is so wrong that things take like millions of years. No, hybrids happen naturally, and you can force them to happen too. And biology is very adaptable to its environment, and that's where we get such diversity in life. God made biology very adaptable. Evolution is wrong, adaptation is right. Oh man, look at this. Someone's getting a chuckle with this one. A bonobo, one of the two species of chimpanzee, genus Pan. Isn't Pan like a trickster goat creature? At the Jacksonville Zoo, the two species are humanity's closest living cousins. Well, cousins are the same. Of course, I know in a biological sense, but here they could be talking in a different way. Like, if you're a cousin to a human, you're also a human. I don't know. This guy's flipping you off. A scientist examines Bokar the chimp at the Yerkes Laboratories, courtesy Donald Dewsbury. Experiments that explored the close relationship between humans and chimps have lent the human Z story an air of believability. I thought that was a weird way to talk about this. And exactly, yeah, they're being just very truthful here. Hey, we come up with these bullshit experiments and stuff to give things an air of believability because it's all a bunch of BS. So that's why we do the experiments with chimps. That's why you hear about all these alleged laboratories out there with chimps, and you don't really ever see pictures. Every once in a while, you see a video of a fursuit coming out and pretending like it's the first time seeing the sky for like a couple decades. But has anybody actually visited any of these places, or does anybody have a job studying chimpanzees? Like, I don't think that if somebody knew somebody like that, it doesn't really exist. Like, would stuff like that really exist? And I guess people just think that it's in some really far secluded laboratory somewhere where you need high level government access to enter this place. But in actuality, nobody has ever seen a chimpanzee lab where they're being caged up and being experimented on. That's just on the TV and in people's minds. It doesn't actually exist. The story's plausibility has no doubt led to some of its intrigue. It seems to fall within the range of some scientific horrors of the pyramid, eugenics, the Tuskegee experiments, as well as some of the real research, that's interesting, contrasting it with real research that explicitly intended to divine, I'm assuming they meant divide, the boundary between human and ape. Two experiments, Lula and Winthrop Kellogg, and the other by Kathy and Keith Hayes, involved scientists raising baby chimps in their Orange Park homes alongside their children. So this was really interesting to me because people have often heard of these stories of chimps being raised with humans, and I think that that's actually good evidence that it is a hoax, because that would be so dangerous. You would have to be insane to allow to raise your own human child alongside a wild animal like that could allegedly rip them to pieces in a second if they wanted to. So I think that actually gives a lot of evidence that it's fake. There's news stories out there like this of people allowing their infant child to be touched and handled by these big beasts, and that shows you that it's a hoax. But anyways, Orange Park. The fact that all of this happened in Orange Park, I had no idea that those stories that they tell us about, oh, my child was raised alongside a chimp, that happened at Orange Park. That is such a huge deal. Orange is a huge deal. I have multiple videos on Orange. On my website, I have a web page talking about Orange and how important it is. And it's the club. It's not just famous people. These people, they learn from the TV. They learn the same signs and symbols. They see the same bozos on TV say, oh, orange, that's my favorite color, even though nobody asked them. And they copy them, and they're in your life. Guarantee to you that you have orange lovers in your life who have known about this stuff. It's a big inside joke, the color orange, especially bright orange, safety orange. Regardless of the truth of the story, the human Z of Orange Park has become an indelible part of First Coast folklore, and it shows no sign of going away. It has a certain color. What, like the color orange? Says Dewsbury. I can see why people would love the story. I would be fascinated if it proved to be well documented. What a great story. The amount of just doubtful language in this article is shocking to me. All the apparently and that kind of stuff, regardless of the truth of the story. And oh, what a great story. Man, this was just a good topic. And so, what do you think about this human chimp hybrid? I think it's probably about time that they've brought this out again, and I'm surprised that they haven't. And they might. They might be building a fursuit right now that's supposedly some missing link creature, and I wouldn't be surprised. Hope you enjoyed the video. God bless everyone.